Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, Devin Haney, let's talk about it. So, we saw a video from Keyshawn Davis here recently where he said Devin Haney is still the best fighter at 140 pounds, which was an interesting statement. Now, there has been a lot of movement in regards to the 140-pound division with Matias losing this past weekend, surprisingly losing. A lot of people are taking shots at Matias because, of course, they said that he was, quote unquote, the boogeyman that nobody wanted to fight, and he lost. And of course, Gary Anton Russell also lost this weekend to Puello, and a lot of people wanted to take a lot of shots at him, including Devin Haney. So hopefully we can get friend of the show on, Gary Russell Jr. I would love to hear what he has to say and get some feedback from him in terms of just what's going on in the sport overall. But so let's talk about it. So I guess the question that I have for you, Jay, is whether or not Devin Haney was the number one fighter at 140 pounds to begin with. When we think about it, Teofimo is the linear champion, and I believe a lot of people are saying, or at least I believe Keyshawn is saying that Devin Haney is the best fighter at 140 pounds just simply because Teo has not looked good in his last fight or his last couple of fights.
This last fight. He looked good against Taylor, looked bad against Ortiz.
Okay, yeah. It's just been one fight since Taylor. Okay, gotcha. So Jay, I'm gonna take out all the context related to Ryan Garcia because that gets a bunch of people's panties in a wad. I'm going to talk about strictly Devin Haney and if he's best at 140 pounds. Personally, I'm going to go with Teofimo Lopez, and I believe it's because I think Devin is susceptible to power, and I also think that he's susceptible to anybody that has the boxing ability to get on the inside and actually land shots, right? Devin typically uses his size to his advantage, and his size is his defense. So being able to stay at distance, the range, the size allows him to get away from shots. But when you have a fighter that's in front of you that can slip, get on the inside, and actually get off combinations, which I believe Teofimo Lopez can do, then I believe he can beat Devin Haney. And I believe there are a number of other fighters that can beat Devin Haney as well. Devin is good. I'm not saying that Devin is not good, but I think Devin is not the number one fighter at 140 pounds. I think there's probably at least two fighters that can beat him. So I would love, and the other fighter that I'm going to throw in there, and I think Pitbull would give him problems because Pitbull has that style where, whether you're rangy or not, Pitbull is used to actually fighting people that have a rangy style. Pitbull can get up under your shots, get on the inside, and throw his combinations. And I believe that he would be successful against somebody like Devin Haney, who would probably struggle to some extent to tie him up as he's coming on the inside to get his shots off. So that's just my personal opinion. I think both of those, and not to say that Devin won't beat those guys, but I think there's a debate whether or not those two fighters could beat Devin Haney or whether Devin Haney would beat those two fighters. And because of that, I can't just clearly state that Devin Haney is the number one fighter at 140 pounds. It's just my personal opinion. But there may be other fighters out there, Jason, that you're thinking about that will give Devin Haney a run. So what's your thoughts? Devin Haney, the number one fighter at 140 pounds?
I mean, really, right now, after this past weekend, there's no number one fighter at at 140. Honestly, it's like a pickle. Mm-hmm. People had Matias as a boogeyman, although Matias was flawed because he was hittable. He lost that fight. We had, Gary Anton Russell as a potential, up there. And I still have him up there, but he didn't look good in this fight. Could have been the fact that he was out of the ring for over a year or so. He just looked like he looked rusty when I watched that fight. It didn't look like the Gary Anton Russell I'm used to seeing. Poirier is a different type of fighter as well, so he got put his name in the hat. Teo's name in the hat. Teo's had 3 fights, if I'm not mistaken, at 140 recently. Looked bad against Sandor Martin. Some people thought he lost that fight. Some people thought he lost to Jermaine Ortiz. He looked outstanding against Josh Taylor. So then we see how Devin looked against Regis Prograis, who was pretty much tailor-made for him. He looked like he was the best thing ever. And he got beat by Ryan Garcia. PEDs or not. I'm talking about the skill in that fight. Strictly the skill in that fight. Devin didn't showcase his skill like he did against someone like a Regis Prograis. Like, to your point, he fought someone that was his size or bigger. So it changes the game plan. Styles makes fight. We know that. Pitbull Cruz came up to 140, got a belt. I mean, he beat Rolly, but Rolly arguably was going to lose to Barroso in the prior fight. So, I mean, is that really a test for her to say a Pitbull is really up there like that? We'll see how Pitbull looks against Ryo, and Ryo is not a 140 pounder. He just got hit. This is his first fight at 140. So 140 is just pretty much a pick 'em. It's almost like everyone's going to beat everyone, but maybe it's just maybe I have more favoritism for Gary Antoine Russell because I've seen him, the prior 17 fights. He's shown different abilities in that, and I just think that knocking the rust off, going back to the drawing board with his brother Mr. Gary Russell Jr. to go through some things. I think Gary Antoine Russell could be the one that comes out because he's rugged, he's tough in there. He can crack and everything. He just has to showcase more than what he did against Poirier because he didn't look like the Gary Antoine Russell I'm used to seeing. You can't overlook Poirier because Poirier had a great game plan against Gary Antoine Russell. He showed that he could box as well. The thing about Poirier, they talk about his failed PEDs from a few years ago. So that's how he lost his belt because of the drug tests and everything. So 140, it's a you pick him on that. Devin's still up there, although he didn't look great. He looked terrible against Ryan Garcia. I don't pick Ryan Garcia as a supreme fighter as well. We knew a whole bunch of different things was going on in that fight, but skill-wise, Devin didn't look right. So I can't put Devin number one. Like I said, it's a you pick them out of all of them because they've all had stinkers in their last fight or so.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I was trying to not really speak on the whole Devin situation in terms of how he looked against Ryan Garcia because, again, people want to completely discount how he looked because of the Osirine situation with Ryan Garcia, although that didn't really affect how Devin looked. But at the end of the day, I've always felt that Devin had some gaps in his skills. I still believe he has gaps in his skills. I think he has to work on that. This whole notion that he has Floyd Mayweather-like defense was always overblown. We've seen Devin Haney get hit regularly. No, they were saying that he was the next coming to Mayweather, and we've seen Devin Haney get hit regularly. And I remember talking to you, this was before we even had a channel, and I was talking to you about this, about there's something missing with Devin. It's something that's not there. He'll try to roll a shot, but doesn't roll it correctly and get hit. And I'm talking about hit hard and clean. Like you can see that the technique wasn't there. I'm not saying that getting hit is Floyd got hit, right? But all boxers are going to get hit. But I just saw flaws in the technique and flaws in the execution of certain techniques that, it just wasn't there, Jay. So, this is no shot at Devin. I just thought that the plateau that they were putting Devin on was simply not warranted based off of what he had demonstrated in the ring. It's my opinion. Now, we'll see what ends up happening with Devin next. Devin is talking about maybe he's going to go on a hiatus and then come back and fight Ryan Garcia. That's odd to me considering the fact that he said that right after the fight, when the whole thing came out about PEDs or whatever, if I'm not mistaken, when he was on ESPN, he said that he wouldn't be interested in fighting Ryan Garcia again. And now, since the purse bid went to $2.3 million, he now sees that he doesn't have options to make all that money that he claims he has as the face of boxing. So now, he's more interested. Yeah, so now he's more interested in maybe that rematch because that's what's going to garner the most money for him because he's not going to get a Gervonta Davis fight because Tank's not going to allow him to come in the ring 30 pounds heavier. So you guys tell us what you think in the comment section in regards to Devin Haney and what Keyshawn Davis had to say. Is Devin Haney the number one pound for pound, well, not number one pound for pound fighter, but the best fighter in the 140-pound division? Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AL Sports Media, and we are out.